Hello YouTube! Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. So, hopefully I can keep this one short. I'm going to start off by saying that I honestly do honor all women. I honor genetic women. I honor the women who have periods. I honor the women who have wombs. When you think about it, your womb truly is a gateway. It is a gateway from heaven. It is a gateway in which souls are born into this earth. So that is a beautiful thing. I honor women like me, women who are transgender, women who have different kinds of bodies. I honor women who are genetic women, but don't have periods. Now let's talk about this. So if you've ever listened to any TERF, any trans exclusionary feminist, one of their key arguments is that, you're not a woman because you don't have a monthly cycle. Therefore, access is denied. You don't bleed every month like the rest of us. Girl, I'm actually not interested in bleeding. I'm not ignorant enough to think that having a period is a romantic voyage on a horse. I understand that having a monthly cycle, you need to have finances in order to afford pads, in order to afford tampons. And that is a privilege that is set aside for women who live in the West, who live in America, who live in Western parts of Europe. But when you come to Africa, when you go to other parts of the world like Asia, even South America, there are so many women who, because of their financial situation, simply do not have the financial means to simply buy, sanitary pads. There are women that are living on the streets that don't have access to this. So for them, going through your period is not a romantic voyage. It's not something beautiful. So whenever a feminist comes at someone like me and talks about the fact that I don't have periods, there's a part of me that wants to laugh because I've never wanted to have periods. I genuinely have never wanted to have a period. No joke. I genuinely celebrate my body the way that it is. And I understand that my private parts are just that. They're private. They're hidden. They're not for the community. So when you have this limited mindset and think that, going through your period is a rite of passage, and if you don't go through it, then you're not a real woman. Girl, there are women out there who wish they didn't get their periods, who wish their body could just send, a quick little email and be like, congratulations, girl, you're not pregnant. Move on. You know what I mean? Girl, there was this comedian, her name is Thea Vidal, and she basically said when it's her period, she wants to be in bed with a joint and a heating pad. You know what I mean? Because your body's not comfortable, and it's not comfortable during that period. Literally. I had a friend, a roommate, we're not friends anymore. Now she would have intense migraines during her period. She would have these intense period pains where her body would literally shake. There was this one time we had to walk. We were living in Port Elizabeth in South Africa, and we had to walk from Summerstrand to an area called Green Acres. Now that's about a 45-minute hour walk. She was going through her period that time and could not afford, we couldn't afford an Uber, we couldn't afford transportation, we had to walk. And this girl, during her period, she had to walk month after month after month. Every time she would still have to walk to work. And I'll never forget this one time we were walking together, and she had these like violent spasms. Like she literally was in pain, and I had to help. I had her arm around my shoulders, and I was like holding her up. And I remember saying, girl, if you need to sit down, I'll sit with you, but just make sure you're okay. Having a period is something beautiful. It is something beautiful, and it is something that should be celebrated. But it is not a tool that you use to exclude people, because by doing that, you show the world your level of privilege. Just because you can afford pads, you can afford tampons, you can afford the correct medication to deal with all of that, doesn't mean other women can do the same. And by you talking about it as though it's some golden thing that all women experience, shows how limited your view of the world is. Case in point, in Africa, we have genital mutilations, especially along the coast, East African coast. If you go up there, I think Sudan, Ethiopia, a lot of those countries, even in parts of Mozambique, girl. But these things happen where women are mutilated. And when they go through their monthly cycles, number one, most of them can't afford pads. They can't afford the same. They don't have accessibility to the same medications that y'all have. So when y'all make statements like that, trying to exclude women like me, you're not only excluding women like me, you make womanhood into, you make it into this one clique, this one white, privileged, Western, English-speaking clique with money. So I want you to please remember that. Girl, yes, having the ability to have a child is something beautiful. But what women go through is difficult. It is difficult. And for you to laud that over someone like me, because you don't want me to call myself a woman, you don't want me to think of myself as a woman, shows how limited your worldview is. Look, I'm not against the idea of feminism. It's funny because when I was a kid, I was a hardcore feminist. But at that time, I believed that feminism was inclusive of all different kinds of women. I thought that it included Black women. I thought it included Indigenous women. I thought it included women of different religions, women of different socioeconomic statuses. But it has become a very westernized, very American, very, 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 very Anglo-Saxon ideology. And for that, I have to say, babe, I'm not jealous of your period. I'm not jealous that I don't bleed. I've bled enough in my life. I do not need to bleed for my genitalia. And for those women that do go through a monthly cycle, you know what, sweetheart? I love you and I honor you. Whether or not you have the means to buy sanitary pads or whether you don't have the means, I honor you. So I just want to say this, that look, feminists will always try to exclude transgender women. But by trying to use the argument that you are not a woman because you don't bleed, and you're not a woman because you don't go through this rite of passage, and by painting it as though it is this beautiful thing, you silence poor women. You silence poor women. You silence women who don't have the access and the means to what you have. Think about that just for one moment. I would love I would love for feminists, I would love for these TERFs, for trans exclusionary feminists, to actually, invest as much time in reaching out to poor women, to brown women, to women living in Africa and Asia who don't have the same accessibility to sanitary pads or to tampons. I would love for them to use the same level of energy as they do when they try to exclude trans women. Look, babe, I know I'm trans, but I'm not your enemy. I really am not your enemy. The hatred you have for trans women, that's your enemy. The anger you have, that's your enemy. But I'm not your enemy. I'm just someone who's trying to live their life and live a life authentic. If you don't want to consider me a woman, you don't have to. You really, really don't have to, because I transitioned for myself. But don't brag about your period, girl. Do not. Do not. It makes y'all sound hella stupid. It really, really does. I'm sorry, but not sorry. Anyways, thank you so much for checking out my channel. Hope to see y'all again. Bye.